Good afternoon. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365, with your daily news update for Tuesday, the 1st of September, the first day of school here in Mount Horeb. I think it might be for Madison as well. I know it's been a bit of a technologically challenging day here in my house. Some of the links and class meetings didn't quite work, and some did, and some were great, and some, we spent a lot of time, Stephanie, our Stephanie she does all of our data and things, and she also really is taking the lead on schooling for the kids, and which is challenging, obviously, but a lot of math games being played today because a lot of the classroom things didn't work, and I would imagine that was the same situation for a lot of folks. So let's jump into coronavirus news today. We have more to tell you than we did yesterday, thankfully. And then we'll take questions at the end, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Kenosha and some other stuff in a little bit. As you remember, yesterday there was no. We didn't do really an update yesterday just because the testing database had been down on Sunday, so there was just really limited data yesterday. It was so limited that it wasn't even really valuable to report. So today we have basically 2 days worth of data. I'm going to give you mostly just today's because the numbers, the raw numbers of cases is not nearly as bad as I fear it would be. In my head, I'm thinking two full days worth of data might be like 2,000 new cases or something. So the good news is that, as I reported yesterday, during that outage when the database was down, they did manage to report 266 new cases yesterday, and then today 981. So for the 2 days worth of data, the total is 1,247 new cases for those 2 days. So that's not as bad as I thought it would be. The number of tests, though, is still pretty low, on the low side, honestly, such that 266 yesterday was about 7% of the tests that were recorded on that limited data day. And then today, the 981 cases for today represented 8.3%, just over 11,000 tests reported today. So given that it was that the 11,000 something tests that were reported today were basically, at least a good portion of those were actually supposed to have been processed and reported on Monday yesterday. That's 11,000 for basically like a day and a half is really low. So that's not great. But, and also not great is 8.3% of those coming back positive. Our total case count now is 76,584. Of those, just over 7,500 are active, which that number has been pretty consistent for the past several days. I'd rather see that going down, honestly. That has been as low as 4,800. It has been as high as 9,900. So to be at 7,500 and just kind of staying steady at 7,500, I don't love it. It's not terrible, but I don't like it. The other thing I don't like is 9 more fatalities today. 4 of those in Milwaukee County, and then 1 each in Marathon, Racine, Walworth, Waukesha, and Wood counties. And we did have 1 reported fatality from Outagamie County that was taken out of the data. Probably just that happens relatively regularly. It's not a big mistake or anything. It's just one data point that was off. So the result is that the total death toll goes up by 8, even though we had 9 fatalities today. So it's now 1,130. You might remember back in the spring, like in April or so, maybe into May, the sort of the most widely quoted projection said that we would have 800 deaths by the end of August. And now at September 1st, now we have 1,130. So, that's not great. We still have 18 people who've tested positive for coronavirus and died of other causes. And those are not counted. Despite what you hear on the internet, those people are not counted as COVID fatalities. The 7-day average of new cases now is 727 over the past week. And the percentage of positive tests in the past 7 days has been 8.6%, which is higher than today even. Over the past 14 days, it's 8%, 8.0%, which means that percentage has been considerably higher in the past 7 days than it was in the previous 7 days. That's not great either. We have our average of deaths has gone down slightly. We're at 5 deaths per day over the past week and 6 per day over the past 2 weeks. A lot of localities to talk about today. I'll try to just kind of burn through them. If you want to see the actual numbers, I'm going to, rather than just read off, because there's just so many, I think partly because it's 2 days worth of data. I'm going to drop a link into the comments here that's today's report, today's story that I wrote up based on the data, so that I don't have to just throw all these numbers at you. But there are basically a lot of those counties that have more than 10 new cases also have very high percentages of positive tests. Milwaukee County has 110 new cases today, but the percentage of tests coming back positive is 5.8%, which is, you'd rather see it around 3, but 5.8 is better than 8.3, right, which is the state's average right now. I'll just mention a few of these. Brown County today has 93 new cases and just under 15% positive tests there. Calumet County still continues to be on this list, a very rural county with 11 new cases and just over 20% positive tests there. Dodge County has 26 new cases and 27.4% positive tests there. Juneau County, I don't recall Juneau County being on this list before. It's possible that they have been once or twice, but not for a while. And they have 39 new cases today and 44.3% positive tests. Outagamie County, 74 cases, 18.5% positive. Ozaukee County, 17 cases, 38.6% positive. Trempealeau County, 10 cases, 23.8% positive. Washington County, 30 cases, 42.5% positive. See what I mean? These are really high. Waupaca County, 21 cases, 30.9% positive. Waushara County, 10 cases, 27% positive. There's a handful that are in the 10 and 11 range as well. And then there's just a smaller number that are 6 to 8%. So I would just click the link there, get fully up to speed on your county. If anybody wants to know about a specific county, I guess you can drop it in the comments here and I can try to look it up for you. Hospitalizations went up just a tiny bit. There were 61 people hospitalized since yesterday. So the number of people who've ever been hospitalized went up by 61%, or by 61 people rather. But the number that are currently hospitalized only went up by 3, which means that a larger than usual number of people went into the hospital, but also almost as many were discharged or died, right? Which means the end result is that 290 people are currently hospitalized. That's only 3 more than yesterday, but it's also 47 fewer than a week ago. And of those, 96 are in intensive care, which is 8 fewer than yesterday. Okay, so that's, you know what I need to look up is the rate of transmission. It's been a very busy day, so I didn't get a chance to do that before I came out here. And it looks like it's slightly better, 1.07 is the rate of transmission, which means that's the average number of people who are infected by each infected person. So slightly more than 1, which is not great. We'd rather it be less than 1, because what that means is every 100 people who have the virus will pass it on to 107 other people. who will then pass it on to another 110 or so. Basically, every round of infection will grow by 7%. It was 1.11 yesterday, so 1.07 is better than it was yesterday. We are the seventh highest in the nation right now. South Dakota is highest at 1.35. And then we're also behind Iowa, North Dakota, Hawaii, Minnesota, and Alabama. And then we are at 1.07, and we're tied with Tennessee, which is also 1.07. So that's not great. We'd rather have that below 1, but it's better than it was yesterday. So good news there, I guess. Dolores asking about Marathon County. I don't think Marathon County is on my list here, which is good news. My list is only those that are in I get more than 10 cases. But let me pull up my full spreadsheet here, and I can tell you. As long as you took the time to ask, I will try to give you an answer. Marathon County did have one fatality today to bring their total death toll there to 67. And it's still working, sorry. Marathon County today, in terms of new cases, has only 4 new cases today. No, I'm sorry. That's Marinette County. I'm sorry. I was off by 1. 6 new cases today in Marathon County, which represents just over 4% of positive tests. They ran 145 tests, or rather processed/reported 145 tests, of which only 6 were positive. So not a bad day for Marathon County today. So let's talk about a couple other bits of news. The president is in Kenosha today, against the wishes of the governor and several other elected officials, some local. Obviously, he's just kind of a divisive figure, and they just thought a visit would be just divisive and would cause trouble. It does not seem at this moment as if it's caused much more violence. There was some worry that kind of the president's rhetoric, and again, this is facts. This is not my opinion or assessment of the president, but the fact is that his rhetoric is a bit bombastic, right? And he seems to favor. He's definitely taking sides in this thing. In Kenosha, you have a police shooting, and then you have police shoot a black man in the back, and then a couple of days later, you have a white, conservative, pro-police kid shoot and kill 2 people. I don't think I have to say allegedly, because there's no question that he did do that. The question is whether he did so in self-defense. And the president has definitely taken the side of the police officers and that kid, right? And has publicly said this is he was attacked, it was self-defense, whatever. So there was some worry that him coming here, not taking the normal presidential line as like, boy, this is really a tough situation. Let's wait till the facts are in, but let's try to come together. That's not what he's coming to do. He's coming to install law and order or something like that. So there's worry that would cause division. There was something of a protest gathered today at, I think, if I remember correctly, it's about a half mile away from where the president was meeting with local leaders. But it was basically at the scene of the police shooting from last week Sunday, when police shot Jacob Blake in the back. And it basically turned into a block party. Like, it didn't have the feel of a protest, which has happened a few times this summer. We've seen protests turn into celebrations, like protests of black liberation and in favor of Black Lives Mattering. Basically in favor of the basic assertion that Black Lives Matter, have sort of evolved or transformed or given way to celebrations of Black joy. And it's been really remarkable to see. That's happened a few times. It's sort of been a cycle over the summer. And that seems to be what's happening in Kenosha. It's hard to say from here, from Madison, but that's based on just sort of social media video that I've seen. But basically, in this protest, there were hundreds of people this afternoon who gathered in response to the president's visit. And there was a bounce house, and there was music, and I think there was barbecue or some sort of food. But it was not the violent clash that you might expect, and it wasn't the violent clash that the president probably kind of wanted. So we will see what happens tonight. If there's more tonight, there haven't been much in the way of real destructive type protests since Tuesday night, which is when Kyle Rittenhouse shot those protesters. Protests have been loud, but not nearly as destructive, I don't think. If there are no other questions on that, I'm going to mention one other thing. And that is that the Wisconsin Leadership Summit is coming up October 5th to 9th. That's an event that we, Madison365, puts on. This will be the third one. This will be the first one we're doing entirely virtually. We did it at the Ho-Chunk Gaming in 2018. We did it over to Center for the Arts last year. This year, for obvious reasons, are just going virtual. We're expanding it to a week. It's going to be 5 different sessions every day, panel discussions on every issue from education to healthcare disparities to social justice to entrepreneurship, all kinds of stuff. All the panelists are people of color, so we white folks can kind of sit back and listen. There's a good opportunity for that for us. But one of the things that we instituted last year was an awards element. We had an awards show last year, and it was called the Wisconsin Leadership Community Choice Awards because they were chosen by members of the community. And basically today we opened up nominations for those. So what we'd like you to do is nominate people in your community, people of color in your community who are leaders. Either business, there's 9 categories, and the categories are Man of Excellence, Woman of Excellence, High School Student Leader of the Year, College Student Leader of the Year, Business Executive of the Year for both small and large businesses, a Nonprofit of the Year, and then Social Justice Leader of the Year. So I'm going to drop a link into the comments here. So hit that link. There's links to forms, like nomination forms. You can just fill those out and nominate people in your network who are doing good work, who are leading, and then we will basically leave that open for 2 weeks, and then we will open voting on the finalists right around the 15th or 16th of September, and then we will announce those a couple days before the summit, and then those winners will participate in the summit in a way that we'll talk about closer to the event. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. If there are no other questions, I appreciate your attention. Again, we are a nonprofit newsroom, so if you want to support the work we do, Madison365.org/donate. I'm so sorry. One other thing I have to mention that I forgot is that there's a new order for Dane County schools, basically an amendment to the previous order, which says if you are a special education student, you can go to school in person. They didn't say a lot of why, but it's sort of obvious that just special ed is just really hard to do at home, really hard to do by Zoom or whatever, and also the special ed classrooms are just not as populated, right? So there are ways you can do special ed in person in a way that's safe, probably, right? So that goes into effect tomorrow. I think individual schools and individual school districts will have to figure out how that works and how to do that. But that's basically the order closing schools is basically amended to open special education departments in those schools. Okay, that's really is it. I appreciate your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you again tomorrow.